This week, last week, we treated a few topics around, we treated Azure databases, services, and then monitoring, where we talked about the various Azure databases or database services that are available in Azure. We talk about the SQL database. We talk about the managed instance. We talked about Cosmos DB. We talked about the fact that you can use um, a lot of other DBs that are available there in Azure. Then we look at Azure Monitor briefly and Application Insight. We're able to enable Application Insight on one of the app service. While creating the app service, we can enable it, or we can enable it after creating the app service. And we said Azure Monitor and Application Insight allow you to be able to collect monitoring or metric data from your applications, from your services, from your servers, metric like CPU usage, memory usage, storage usage, or even network bandwidth usage, right? We talk about ability to be able to send log data, right, from your maybe window applications or window machines or Linux machine, or even your network devices like routers and switches and firewalls. We talk about exporting or sending their logs into Azure Monitor for analysis and then action and automation to be performed on them, right? And the fact that Azure Monitor has different components that allow it to function. There is the data collection component, there is the data analytics component, and the data analytics component, we actually use Power BI or Grafana to analyze those data or visualize them, right? And create reports, meaningful reports from them that you can share with your executive team within your organization, right? So this week, we are going to move further by talking about security, compliance, and then backup strategies that are available in Azure. Okay, so some of the things that we will have been talking about under compliance, we already treated it, which is Azure Monitor, Azure Policy, and then role-based access control. We already do all of that. We did it in one of the previous slides where we talk about Azure Policy and blueprints, and then we talk about role-based access control. So we won't be touching this. We'll just touch the area that we miss from that particular compliance model. And then we are also going to look at Azure backup and disaster recovery solutions or services that you have available in Azure, right? So starting with compliance, we'll talk about briefly how to configure and manage resources, right? Azure resources, and then using the resource manager. So this slide, what is showing, telling us is about regions, right? For Azure region, when it comes to compliance and then data governance, one of the things we want to pay attention to is the region where your data will be hosted. That's region where your data will be hosted. And what are regions? If you have taken note in Azure while creating any resources, you will notice regions. You have to select a region, and region have names. You can see places like West Europe, East Europe, or UK, or you can see West, East, or North US. You can see South Africa. Those are different regions where data centers represent or are located, right? Microsoft data centers are located. So in a nutshell, a region, we'll say a region represents a collection of data centers, right? A collection of data centers that make it possible or provide flexibility and ability for organizations to scale their infrastructure or to scale their services across multiple regions or across geography using by leveraging the region. Region also help to preserve what we call data residency. And data residency in the sense that if you have a compliance requirement that says your data cannot leave African region. So it means if you're in Nigeria and you need to host your data in an African region, and currently, we do not have a region, an Azure region in Nigeria or in Nigeria, right? But we have one in South Africa. So that way, you can actually choose the South African region, and in doing so, your data will remain resident within South Africa. That means it's still resident in Africa, right? Now, one of the considerations you also have to ensure you do is while selecting your region, you need to consider the location of your users. Where do you have the most users located that will be using that service that you're setting up in Azure? So you want to ensure that you select regions that are closest to your user the most. And one of the other things you need to be aware of is there are services that are region dependent, right? There are some services, if you pick a South African region, there are some services that you will see not available, that are not available for you to deploy within the South African region. But those services might be available in Europe region or in West Europe region or South Europe region, like that. And there are also services that we call global services. When we say global services, it does not matter which region you are spinning up the services from. You can make use of those services across all regions. So example of such service is the network services. If you are creating a virtual machine, network service is available across the region. Security service is also available across the region. But there are some maybe virtual machines or database type that are not available in some regions. So then one thing that is also certain is the fact that regions are paired mostly. They are mostly paired to be highly available, such that when there's a disaster in a particular region, the region is pairing with another region that can back up the data centers in this region. They are backing up each other and they can stand in for each other so whenever the need arises, right? I'm just going to post about 2 links for us. You can use that. We have one is the virtual, one is and it's an animated data center of Microsoft. They created an animated version of their data center, and you can use that to walk around the Microsoft data center. Okay, so I posted one. I'm going to post the second one for you as well. And we'll just quickly look at it before we continue on the discussion. So the first one is animated data center. The second one is for you to take a tour, right, around the Microsoft data center. It's a virtual data center that you can take a tour from. So I'm going to open, I think I have it open somewhere in my browser. And this is the second link this is the first link. And this first link, you can see Microsoft Data Center. You can filter the data center by region, whether it's based on regional compliance or industry compliance or global compliance or disaster recovery option, sustainability feature option, and availability zone presence, right? So if we do availability zone, if we say all, let's say available, sort by available, and then say there is one and yet available. Sorry, now let's go back to this. Let's check the industry standard. The one there were IPA, right? Let's pick IPA for instance, and so better stay and just, I don't know, it's not applying. So just show view mode. Let's see. View the map, which will be view mode. We are currently on view mode. So I'm going to remove this speaker and check. So we can just, okay, I think I see what happened. Industry, you will select HIPAA compliance. Okay, so that's it. If you notice what happened, it reduced the number. If we uncheck the HIPAA, you see more. So there are different color coding that is represented here, right? Central Indian, you have North Indian, then you have the white red one, then you have the square behind as a square, then you have them little. So as you filter, let's look at the legend. You can use this legend to confirm based on what you select is going to actually gray out others and leave just that. Let's pick zone waste certified. The zone waste certified, it enable all this, right? While it has hidden the others. So this is a site where you can actually go to view the various data centers that are available. And when you click it, it's going to show you more about the data center, the year it was opened, whether it has an availability zone, and then the location, exact location. This is in Paris, right? And then data residency stored at, if the data are stored in France, right? And we have different products. You can see the list of products that are available here. And then we have regulatory compliance that this particular data center or region is compliant with. So regional compliance, GDPR, you have industry compliance, we have global compliance and the rest. So this is a site you can actually walk around to see what and what are available and what region you have. This is Israel. Location is Israel, data is reside in Israel, right? And it was created in 2023. So because Microsoft is still adding more data centers to the list as the customer base on Azure grows, they are adding more data center. If this was open as early as 2023, there's possibility that some were open around 2024. Right? Now let's go to the other one, which is to taking a tour across the around the data center. So it's navigation menu and then sustainable energy, that's just then carbon usage, recycling, and then when it comes to security, that we have perimeter fencing, and then we have checkpoints. So we can click this, and this is carbon usage, and right, sustainability is now something that is a requirement for organizations to meet, in the sense that you reduce your carbon footprint by reducing the level of generator releases into the air. So how do you go about reducing this footprint, your carbon footprint? is to implement things like solar, or you implement non non-dischargeable form of energy, right? That's what um, the sustainability entail, right? If you look here, you will see solar. So the data center powered with solar, and we enter from the lobby, right? This is the lobby, and hopefully the internet is fast enough to take us around. But if not, something you can walk around. I've dropped the link for us, and then we can walk around it. AI assistant. Uh, as so I explore the lobby. This is, one of the data center. It's Microsoft. You have the receptionist sitting down there. You have lifts to take you into the main building. And from the main building, we are going to the operation room, right? This is operation room. And you can see, okay, this is Singapore, apparently in Singapore. And have, see their screen where they are able to view things, right, that is happening around. So use arrow keys to scroll. So you can actually use this site to walk around Microsoft data center mechanical area, right? It's where you have power, very, power, electricity, and the rest. So this is the mechanical area, right? So you can take the tour when you are chance. Okay. And let's move on. That's that about Microsoft Data Center. Take a tour when you are free. Okay. Now, talking about subscription, at this time, I want to believe we now have an understanding of what subscription means, right? The When you come to Azure, managing Azure or managing your tenant, there are ways by which you can manage your subscription. And from this diagram, you notice that you have an Azure account. When you create a trial or you create a paid subscription of Azure, that is your account. Now, within this account, you will have subscriptions, okay? In the account, only identities in Entra ID or in a directory that is trusted by Entra can actually create a subscription. Somebody that is using Ultimate or coming from another tenant cannot come to your tenant and come and spin up or create a subscription within your tenant. So it must be an account that exists within your own Entra ID that come with the account that you created. Once you create an Azure subscription, if you remember, Jennifer explained that to us. Once you create an Azure subscription, whether it's trial or through paid one, you are also automatically given an Entra ID tenant. This Entra ID allow you to create users and manage users and groups within your, is a directory of that keep your users and assign permissions of what they can do and what they cannot do within that environment, right? Now, anybody that must create subscription subsequently must be an account that is created in your directory, that exists in your directory. If that account does not exist in your directory, it's not going to be able to create an account. Now, under your account, like you said, you have different subscriptions. You can have as many subscriptions as you want for different purposes. And why will you create multiple subscriptions in an account? One is use case. It can be as a result of use case, maybe local units, right? You have local units and everybody needs to be responsible for what resources they are using or how they spend their money, the money that is budgeted by the organization for IT services or IT infrastructure. You could have the sales department that have need, right, of a subscription to host their data. Account will need, and you can have developers. If you have developer in an environment, you might have a subscription where your development team use to create, to develop their applications, their solution, the software. Then when they finish development, they can roll it to another subscription that is called test subscription, where test user can log in and test the function of the application that has been deployed in that environment. Then after the testing, you can have a separate subscription that is for production, where every tested and validated and approved software or solution can then be pushed to for real the actual users to start using them. Right. Now, under the account, you can actually create what we call management group, right? There's management group or management scope, right? So management scope can be, we have, as you have the account, under the account, you have the root directory. I will see, maybe I have a slide for that. You have the root directory, and you can now create multiple management group for different segments of the business. It can be maybe sub company under your main company, right? Or it can be departments like we have it here. Then this subscription, actually what it's doing is it's creating what we call security and billing boundaries, right? If you create subscription for just the developers, only developers will have access to it. That's where role-based access control comes in. Only developer will have access to the development subscription. And also whatever bill is being generated here will be borne by the developer team or the development team, right? So that's what subscription creates for you. It creates security boundary and billing boundary for an organization. So moving on, now there are different types of subscription and usage reason. We have the free subscription type. The free one is the one you sign up for a 30 days trial using your credit card. You have to put your credit card, and this 30 days trial give you access to $200 worth of credit that you can use to test out things, run virtual machine, run every kind of services that are available. Plus, there are free services that come for free, even when at the end of 30 days, your $200 credits expire. Because your account still exists, there are some services that you can spin up that are free, but virtual machines will not be part of them. There are app service, for instance. There are free tiers of app service that you can still use and some resources. Then you have what we call pay as you go. Pay as you go means you created the subscription using your own card, your credit or debit card. And then Microsoft will be deducting their money as you use the services every month, right? There's what we call CSP. CSP stands for Cloud Solution Provider, right? Cloud Solution Provider. And this is a kind of agreement, right? Agreement with possible discount through a Microsoft partner. Microsoft partners are usually the ones they call CSP, and there are different types of them also. There is what they call direct CSP and indirect CSP. If you are a direct CSP, it means a partner can pay directly to Microsoft. But if you are an indirect CSP will first pay to a direct CSP provider who will then pay to Microsoft, right? So that's usually for these are some type of partner or a way by which a customer can also purchase an Azure subscription. Then you have the enterprise. This enterprise is that the customers are paying directly to Microsoft themselves. Though there's a partner in between, but the Microsoft is interfacing directly with these customers and enterprise customers. So there's an agreement with them between the customer and Microsoft. Then the agreement can run for, is usually a 3 years agreement that allow customers to use services, create resources and use services in Azure. And at the point of their renewal, their yearly renewal, they declare any additional usage that they have used within the environment. This is usually for very large organizations, not for small or medium-sized businesses, because of now the difference between this and this is the fact that price are usually locked down here. Under the agreement, price are usually locked down. So for instance, let's say you are buying this year, this year you are signing the enterprise agreement with Microsoft, and then in your first year, the cost of a particular virtual machine that you purchased, that you were using, is let's say monthly or per seconds that you use was costing let's say $500, right? And then either $500 monthly, right? Let's make it monthly. Now, in the second year, the price of that exact VM has increased by $50. It's now $450 per month. But because you have an agreement, you will continue to pay $400 because I'll be sorry, $500 because Microsoft have locked down that price for you. The increase will not affect you. However, if you happen to add a new service that was not part of your initial agreement, that will be added at your next year of renewal. It will be added, but you from that year, you pay the current price for that particular resource, new resource that you just added, right? That's the way the enterprise agreement works. Then there is a student type of subscription that give you access to $100 for a period of 12 months, right? And this one require you to be in a school that have such agreement with Microsoft, such that Microsoft can allow their user to use Azure for whatever they are learning within in the school. So now, obtaining a subscription, just like the previous one where we talk about the type of subscriptions that are available, we say you can obtain a subscription through enterprise agreement where the customer make an upfront monetary commitment and consume services throughout the year. You have 3 years agreement here, and then from the 3 years agreement, anything you use, you renew or you pay. So you have a 3 year, they give you a price for 3 years, but you are allowed to pay yearly, right? That's year 1, year 2, year 3. So you are allowed to pay yearly. And if you want to pay everything for the entire 3 years upfront, you can actually do that. If you have the fund, you can do that, right? You can pay it that way, 3 years majorly. So, but if you want to pay upfront the entire year, you can pay it. However, if you use any new service, because you have paid for the entire 3 years, you use any new service, you have to declare that and pay for those new services or additional services that you use. Then we have through reseller, which is the CSP option. That's indirect CSP. Then we have through partners. Those are direct CSPs, right? Resellers are also Microsoft partner, right, in a way, but they are smaller, or the benefit here is less than the benefit you have when you are a partner, and you can have it through the free account. The free account is inclusive of students, accounts and trial or free trial accounts, right? Now, talking about resource group, we should already know what we call resource group by now. So resource group are they are like container that contain the resources in one place, right? Containers that help you organize your resources in under your account. Okay. And then resources can only exist. These are things you need to pay attention to. Resources can only exist in one resource group at a time. You can't create an app service and put the app service in resource group 1 and also their app service also existing in resource group 2. No, the app service will only exist in one resource group, cannot be shared across. However, it can be moved across resource group, but can only exist in one place at a time. Then group can have resources of many different types of services. So even from different regions. When you are creating your resource group, you have to select a region. But while creating resources that will be hosted in that resource group, it is not limited. It is not compulsory that that resource must be in the region that the resource group is hosted. But so resource group can accommodate or can contain different type of services like virtual machines, like we can have here, app service, virtual machine, database service, storage service, and whatever services they can all exist in one single resource group, all right? And resource groups cannot be renamed, or you can't have what we call nested group. Nested group are, let's say you have IT, you created a resource group for IT now. You now want under IT, let's create under IT, for instance, maybe IT have development, dev team, right? And they have maybe data team, and you want to create anytime you create resource for data, it should be hosted in data RG. And anytime you create resource for dev team, it should be hosted in dev RG. You cannot have that. This is what is called nested group. So nested group does not exist for a resource group in Azure. You can only create a resource group and put resources in there. So if you have such a requirement where you want to separate the resources that each team are creating, you can just create a resource group for data team and create resource group for dev team and put their resources in there. So the other thing is, like I said, I've said it earlier, that you can actually move resource group around. So if I've created a resource group, maybe it was meant for data team, but I've put that resource group, I created it in the dev team RG. I can actually move it across to the right resource group. Then we have services, service limits and quota, right? Based on the account that you have, if you happen to have a subscription, you can go to your subscription selected and go to usage and quota, or usage plus quota. There you will see the quota based on your account, the quota of how many virtual machines you can create, how many app services you can create, the family in terms of the standard virtual machine family, the premium virtual machines family. You will see them, and against you will see the number, and what you have also used, you will see it. both in number and in percentage. These are adjustable, right? If you exhaust what you are allowed to use, you can actually contact Microsoft to increase it or adjust the quota for you. So resources have default limits. That's on the subscription quota. And then it is helpful to track usage and plan for future use. As you are running out of that particular resource type, it's better you are aware and then you plan ahead of it. You can open a support case free. Like I said, if you exhaust or you are running into finishing the quota you have, you can actually create a ticket with Microsoft, right, to increase the either the number, or they can allow you to publish maximum of that particular resource limit to you, and you can have more to play around with of the exact resource. Now, I spoke a little bit earlier about this, the management group. Management group allow you to create hierarchy within your Azure account. So you have here, you have your Azure account, AZ, I'll just call it AZ, right? AZ 8CCT, right? Sorry for the writing. So you have your Azure account standing in here, right? And under your Azure account, you have management group. There is the root management group. Now, in this management group, you can create other management group. If you look at this place, you will see management group for resource HR, you see management group for IT, you see management group for marketing, and then we have some other subscription that are here. This particular subscription, the environment is an enterprise subscription for customers. They have purchased their subscription through the enterprise agreement, right? Now, when an organization subscribes to enterprise agreement, it gives you that big jump of subscription. You can now start breaking it or creating and allocating credits to different units or different departments or even different organizations that are under your account, right? And that is why we have it here. We have these primary subscriptions here, 2 of them, and then we created under the root management group. So the account owner will be able to manage anything that is under this root. So the account owner can manage these subscriptions. While here we have created sub-management group, HR, IT, and marketing. So here, the marketing team will have access, will be the owner to manage this management group. And they can only see and manage this trial subscription. They created trial subscription by themselves to try out things, right? Likewise for HR will have, they're always creating, they're always needing app to innovate, right? So they have their own development and testing subscription that they use, and then they have their apps that have been created in these subscriptions. Then you have IT, then you further created another one called production. So these are nested management groups. It's different from resource group. We said resource group cannot have nested, but under management group, you can have nested group, right? And you can allocate subscriptions to them accordingly. So you will see, you'll be able to see every cost that this region that they are using here and here. And each of the bill will be separate because they are separate subscription under the different people. And you have this one is in your region 1, your region 2, like that. So you can use policy actually to limit or manage this group. Once you do the creation, once you create a management group, it automatically, there's a automatic boundary or policy that apply to it, except you alter it or recreate if it doesn't meet your need. So, like I said, it's help you to create targets, apply policies to certain targets, and then spending or budget can be isolated for different groups. However, the root here, we see the budget or the spending of every team here. Now, note here, to prevent charges, you need to apply what we call resource locks at the subscription level, resource locks at the subscription level. And resource group, either at the subscription level, resource group level, or at the resource level itself. And when we mean resource lock, that means maybe you want to limit the type of resources that these people, HR, can create. You can lock down certain resources. You will use Azure policy to achieve that, right? Then moving on, we have tagging. Tagging is very important. What it helps you to do is to be able to identify resources in Azure. Yes, it provides metadata for your resources and locally organized resources. So, for instance, if I create an app service and I create a tag called owner, it means who is the owner of that particular app service. Here, an example is this. It is this, let's say this database. Then we've created it. Who is the owner of this DB? It is Joe. The tag is owner. Then the value. Tags are usually value pair or name pair. Name value pair. Yes, name value pair. The name of the tag, then the value, which is a response. So the name is like a question. Then you need to provide a response, right, to the name, right? So that's why they call it name value pair. There has to be a name and there has to be a response to the whatever is it that name is asking for. Then it's very useful for rolling up billing. So let's say in the previous slide, let's say we did not even create subscription for different people, but we created resource group, or as we are creating resources, we are tagging them like we did here. We are tagging them. Owner is Joe, which department is Joe, marketing. Which environment is this resource hosted in? It is in the production environment. So if we want to check, that will bring me to the next page. If we want to check how much the marketing department has spent in terms of cost as a concern Azure usage or resource usage, we can filter based on the tags. We can filter based on owner. When we filter based on owner and we put Joe, it will bring out all the resources that Joe have created and give us the cost and give us the billing accordingly to all of those resources that have been created. So in terms of cost management, costs are resource specific, right? And then usage cost may vary between locations. Regions, sometimes the cost across for the same resource across regions are different. If you are taking notes, if you are creating a resource in a VM, a particular VM in South Africa, it might be cheaper than when you create it in West or East Europe, right? And if you create maybe an app service in US, it might be cheaper than Europe. So costs are actually vary based on your location. And when we say location, we mean regions, right? Costs for inbound and outbound data, they also differ. What do we mean by inbound and outbound data? Data coming into Azure is inbound, coming into Azure, right? And data going out of Azure is called outbound. From this to this, then from here, we are going out to the internet, for instance, to the general internet, right? This is outbound and this is inbound, coming into Azure. Let's give an example of data coming in. If you have an hybrid environment that is set up, this hybrid environment you have is the Azure is connecting to some resources or some server on-prem. Every time your on-prem machines are sending data to a virtual machine or other services in Azure, that data from on-prem, let's do on-prem, right? So any data from here is coming into Azure, and any data from Azure is outbound from Azure, inbound to Azure. Now, one of it is free, while the other you have to pay for it, right? One is free, it's not charged. The other is you have to pay for the other. Let me check something very quickly. Okay, so when it comes to bandwidth, right? The bandwidth, you know, your normal internet bandwidth or local LAN bandwidth. That's what they are talking about. When two virtual machines are talking to each other in Azure, there's bandwidth involved there. VM1 is sending data to VM2, is going through the network, is using bandwidth. VM2 is receiving data, is going through the network, is using bandwidth. Now, some inbound data are free, and the data types that are free, like data going into Azure data center, right? Data going into Azure data center, they are free. So anything coming from your on-prem into Azure is free. But anything from Azure to your on-prem is being charged. Those traffic, the bandwidth that is used is being charged, right? So pay attention to that as well. And you can also have what we call Azure Reserve Instance. So some of these your resources, we can create Azure Reserve Instance. Virtual machine can be reserved. When you create reserve instance, you are locking down the price. Even if you are not doing, remember we say enterprise agreement customer lock down the price. But if you are a standard customer, you are a CSP, you can also lock down the price of a virtual machine. And whatever you pay this year is whatever you pay now is what you continue to pay at every renewal, because you have locked down the price of that virtual machine. And you can also use what we call hybrid benefit to reduce the cost, your Azure costs. Hybrid benefit means if you have purchased some licenses from Microsoft before, maybe like Windows Server license and database server license, that's SQL licenses, you can actually bring those licenses to Azure. Take note, while you are creating a virtual machine in Azure, there's one of the options that says, do you want to use hybrid benefits? If you say yes, it means you have a license that you will use. So you can, once you create that your virtual machine finish or resource finish, you have to go and generate your key, your product key, and use it to activate the particular resource. So that way you will reduce the amount you are paying for that Azure resource that you have created. So you can use hybrid benefit for resources like Windows Server or SQL Server, like I said earlier. So that's all about management management group. Let's see if we can quickly see how and where to do that. my subscription page. Okay, so I'm here. I'm here in my Azure, right? So we're going to go to, let's say, for instance, management group. So see management group. Let's go in there. So if you take notes, or if you took notes, right, of the one of the diagram that we showed earlier, which is this. We go back. Yes, here. See that we have management group. Under it, we now have other management groups that have been created. So likewise, we have it here. This is the root, the tenant management group, the one created by default. Once you create your subscription, you have this created. So you can now create other management group. I'll just come here and create a management group for HR. Just call it HR. Must not be empty. ID can only be an AC letter, digit, and cannot have a period. Okay, so you can say manage HR group 1, and then call it display name is human resources. Human resources, and we click submit. Right. Okay, it's still creating. So where's our usual grid? This screen is kind of is smaller. Let's see. Control minus, okay, it's bigger. Okay, so the management group has been created. It's running out. All right. Supposed to see it here. Okay. So you notice that the both this is our subscription is currently under the root, and this is the resource HR management group that we just created. Okay. Now under this management group, if you want to create a sub group or nested group here, we can go in here. You have to click the management group. Then from there you create, right? You create another one. Here now we can call it let's say HR, let's say learning and development, L&D, L&D, L&D. Then call it learning and development. Yeah. We click submit also. So by the time we go back, you will be able to see the one we just created now, which is L&D. Okay. Now, in this subscription, we can, I'm sorry, in this management group, we can add subscription. Remember, we are only adding things now. We've not applied who can see this, who have access to this management group. We have not applied yet. Okay, so we have HR, and then in HR, we have a management group. but there is no subscription there yet. So if I go here and click subscriptions, there's no subscription. We can try to add one. For us to add, we need to say management group does not have necessary permission to add a subscription. Okay, so let's go back. Go back here. Okay. Okay. Right. We go to access control and we can give somebody access to this particular management group. And you hold on, please. Okay, sorry for the break in transmission. Where is it? Okay, let's go back to the roots, and we want to try to add a new subscription, or we can move this, we can move it around. When we say move, right, it's going to, that's a subscription that currently exists, and we can move it to this, the roots for HR, or to the learning and development group. Okay, so that's that. Hello, can you guys still hear me? My network flicker.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we can move the subscription around if we want to, or we can choose to just leave it where it is. And then after we have done that, right, we can kind of apply a policy or a role, right, to the management group. So we use policy. So we use policy. Let's go back. It's a management group. We assign a role. It. That's yeah. So now we have this guy. This user is the owner of the management group. I'm already there. I'm already there, but we can add somebody else, right, to have access to this management group. So let's try to add somebody. We add role assignment. Yes, so while adding the role that we want to, you can either add the role based on the function that the person will be using for the particular user that you are looking for subscription. Let's see, subscription. Subscription. Oracle. And do this, say app service. Maybe a Kubernetes. I'm looking for the one that is a bit. App service environment contributor, right? You can manage app services, but not the app service plan. Okay. So these are stricter roles or role-based permissions that can be applied to somebody. So let's pick maybe manage, let's pick the app service environment. And then, or if you want to give beyond that, you can actually come to the privilege, administrator role. And that's where you have owner, contributor, reviewer, Azure file administrator, user administrator, or role-based access control administrator. So depending, this has more permission over every other here, while these have the highest permission on that subscription or resource group or the management group that you have created. So if I give this guy a contributor and I click next, right? But it's always good to use the least privilege, which means you will use a function or job role privilege instead of the privilege identity. Then I'll select who is this that I want to assign this role to. We have a few users. We have Bruce. I select Bruce Willie, and then I'm going to click next. And it's a contributor. I can either add a condition, right, or I can leave it as it is like that. So we won't go through this, just discard this, we just go next. Then assignment type, you can do assignment type like whether it is eligible. Eligible is recommended in the sense that Bruce will always have to log into portal.azure.com or entra.microsoft.com to activate. It will make a request. Is eligible, so it will just request to activate it. And anytime you want to activate it, with this eligibility said, you already have access, but we are not leaving it open. So every time you want to use it, is to activate it. And at the time it's activating it, you need to say the reason why it's activating it, and you need to set the time, how long you need for him to complete the task that you want to complete before that. So you should always pay attention when you are assigning this type of role. So always pay attention. It's always 1 year you used to pick. So if you don't need the person to spend up to 1 year having such access, you can actually remove it. right? And if you want it to be active, active means you are giving the person permanently, but that's not recommended. We'll pick the time band. Then here, this is where you can apply our policy. So you will have configured your policy, or from here, you can go and update the policy. So we just leave it as that and click next to take us to review. After reviewing, we can then go ahead to assign the right to the user. So we just go ahead and assign the right to this user, right? So okay, so now we have just given Bruce access to this particular management group, and anything, any resource, any subscription you put here, it will automatically have access to it because we've given him access to the folder or the container that contains the subscription itself, right? So we're just going to go back so that we don't scatter this environment, but you can also move subscription, you can move it around from one management group to another. If I say I want to do this now, that's I've initiated the move and I say move. Let's see if it's going to save it for us or if it's going to give error because we only have one subscription. So I'm trying to move. Let it tell us that I cannot move it or remove it. And it didn't complain. So it has moved the subscription. Did it? I'm still seeing it here. No, it didn't move it. And it did not give error. Oh, yeah, it has moved it. So here, if you notice, this guy is still saying, he's still supposed to be telling us he still has subscription because anyway, as long as you have access to the root, you are the tenant owner, the global admin. Because you have access to the root, you also have access to other management group. And that's why I say if you are here, there's a in the entire tenant, there's one subscription, and that subscription is hosted in here. So we'll move it back just in case. That's one way to move the subscription across. This is the default. We're going to move it in there. Right. That's simply how to create management group, add a subscription. If we click add a subscription button, it's going to allow us to create a new subscription. And it's supposed to give us option also to create a new one, but it's not giving, maybe because of the type of subscription it is. I don't know why, but it's not giving. So it means we can go and add subscription generally outside of this into the tenant, then we'll come and move it between the management group. So if I'm saying add a subscription, it's still adding the same one. So I'm supposed to have an option to actually create a new subscription, but it's not giving us that. So you might have it in your own while you are trying things out. So that's, let me check. Do we have any question? Okay, no problem. Okay, so no questions so far. We'll just continue to the next topic. And the next topic is talking about security. That's Azure Security Center. It is now called Microsoft Defender for Cloud. That's what it is called now. And so Azure Security Center or Microsoft Defender for Cloud, formerly called Azure Security Center, the Security Center itself serves as a complementary solution for managing security across your Azure infrastructure. So it helps you to identify vulnerabilities and then provide actionable recommendations to enhance your security by your security posture. Okay. And then by integrating with various Azure services, it offers a unique, unified view of your security landscape, enabling effective monitoring and compliance, right? So Azure Security Center or Microsoft Defender for Cloud, it was formerly referred to as Azure Security Center, and then it provides a unified infrastructure for security management generally. You can send information, all the security information you are creating, you can actually go to the security center to see, to view them and analyze, right? It strengthens the security posture of your tenants or your Azure, or even including your extent even to the hybrid environment. So you can install a a Defender for Cloud, for Windows Server, for instance, install agent that sends all the logs and everything to the cloud. Okay. And then the key features of Defender for Cloud is it gives you access to Secure Score. Secure Score is an assessment, right? Or the result of an assessment of your environment in terms of security. So it can give you a score. For instance, there's a recommendation that says you shouldn't have more than 3 global administrators in your tenant, and it is seeing 5. It will not give you, it will score you 0 there because you have not met the best practice there. So, but by the time you reduce it to 3, it's going to give you a score for taking that action or following the recommendation, right? That's the way the security score, that's the way it works. So the more you improve your environment security, the more score it gives you. The total score across everything is over 100, right? So that's the way it works. We'll get to see it if we have more time. Then you have threat protection for Azure, for hybrid, or even for multi-cloud environments. You're operating AWS, Google, or any other cloud that you are hosting your service and you have established an hybrid connectivity. Okay, you can actually it can protect resources or your workload across. Then it helps you to meet and track regulatory compliance requirements and integrate with a Microsoft solution called Azure Sentinel. Azure Sentinel is a security product of Microsoft. Is like it's a SIEM, yes, a SIEM solution. That's SIEM, right? A SIEM solution. Sentinel is a SIEM solution that collects security information from the various products that you are using and then give you recommendation, analyze it and give you recommendation. Then you can use service like AppLogic or Logic App, right? Not AppLogic, Logic App to create automation rules on the action to take on certain information that comes into your Sentinel service, right? There are different plans or different tiers that you have. Tiers can also be referred to as plan. There are these free tier that comes with your as you sign up or as you create your Azure tenant, there are the free tier. There's secure score, recommendation, or compliance dashboard that come with it. and there is the standard tier. The standard tier, you have to pay for it. And that give you things, it give you advanced threat protection for your virtual machines, for your SQL, for your storage, containers, app services, and so on and so forth. And this one, you can create a 30 days trial for it. Okay. What are the common use cases, or where and when can we use the vendor for cloud, right? We can use it to secure virtual machines. We need to secure virtual machines. We can use it. We can use it to secure cloud storage. We can use it to protect even our databases and container workload. Remember the previous slide. We talk about all this plus more, and it will help in area, or in we have a requirement to meet certain ISO compliant, where it says you must have your database scanned for vulnerabilities, right? We can use Defender for Cloud to achieve this. And the enhanced feasibility, right, for incident response. Enhanced feasibility for incident response. What do we refer to as an incident? An incident can be that a user in our organization, his password has been leaked, and now someone tries so hard to get access to his data because we did not enable multi-factor authentication, for instance, right? They were able to get access to that person's data and account. They were able to log into the environment, and they were able to promote that account to an admin. There's a name they call it, something privilege threat. They were able to promote that account to have some form of admin right, and they start using that account to do something else within the environment. That's a security incident. So cloud and Defender for Cloud can help you to quickly see this and take action, or respond, create automated response for it. So let's see very quickly before we move to the next topic, if we can see way to quickly check and apply what's it called? Security Defender for Cloud, the free tier. We'll deal with the free tier. Okay, so I'm just going to go into my portal, and we're already here. Go back home, and I'm going to search for Defender for Cloud. This is here, and we'll click it. Once we click it, this is Defender for Cloud here. And then right from here, let's see the overview. We have one subscription, access the resources more, 0 for now. And then security posture is currently 0, Abby. Yes, we don't have anything. We have not done things really in this environment. We have 0 critical recommendation, attack path 0, and overdue recommendations are also 0. Compliance requirement, no assessment has been completed for now. So we can actually enable the free tier, right? We can enable the free tier for the one subscription does not have default policy assigned. Default policy. See. We are supposed to be able to see a button to enable the free one. Set up protect clouds. eligible, all eligible resources are onboarded. Do not have, let's see, what resource do we have here? We have DB and we don't have VM. We have app service. Okay. Go to resources. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the security. Yeah, the security. We have Defender for Cloud. So we can enable it. This we're enabling it on a service, right? So shared access is three resources now. Remember when we went to the other side, to the cloud defender for cloud itself, it didn't give us option, said it wasn't. So we just check the resources. So it's actually doing running some it's running assessment, right? It's running assessment across the services. So I'll close this page. Let's see. So it will take some time before it recommend. It will take some time because we just try to enable it. Go to the rate here. Risk-based recommendation, we dismiss. So after some time, it's going to do assessment. Since we have accessed a few resources here, and it has seen it now. So it's after some time, it will start giving us recommendation. Okay, and then, so this is where you see app service. Cloud Defender for Cloud, right? So, oh, sorry, not enable it. It was loading before. Now, we have it here. Help strengthen your security is for SQL. So you're going to, let's say we enable it and say you are in trial mode. After trial, this will be going for $15 per month. I was actually looking for the free one. I don't know, maybe this subscription is the $100. I don't know, maybe that's why it's limiting what we can do here. Where is this? Let me see the other guy. Just give me a moment. Okay, so it's enabling, right? But that's how we enable. Then we can go back to Defender for Cloud again later. Is it here? And we see if it has started. The assessment is still ongoing. To explore security posture, we click this. This secure score, security posture dashboard. Under it, we will see secure score and some other information. So after that, we can move to next topic. Yeah. Okay, it's taking some time to load. Once it loads, when we come back, we'll check it. Now let's move very quickly to the next topic, which is data protection. right? With data protection, we'll be talking about Azure backup. Sometimes people feel or organizations misunderstand the importance of data protection. They claim because my cloud service provider have told me that I'm going to have 5 nines, 3 nines, or 5 9 access to my data. It means I'm always going to be up to date. Remember, we also talk about responsibility of customer and responsibilities of the cloud service provider in one of our classes. We talk about the fact that there are some things or some responsibility that falls on the shoulder of the customers themselves. This is an example of it. There's a tool that has been made available for you to ensure you protect your data even while it is hosted in the cloud. Let's assume we are always having and always available access, right, to our data. But what happens when we have data corruption? And because there is no backup, there is nothing to fall back to. So we lose data. It might not be as a result of data corruption. It might be as a result of data breach. When there's data breach and we need to revert back or restore the business, where do we get the data to restore business back to normal operation? Or somebody by mistake didn't know, they just deleted certain, maybe some file, very large amount of file from the Azure file storage. And file storage, that's the file share, Azure file share. And we do not have any form of backup from anywhere. How do we get those data back? There are different scenarios that will cause one or an organization to plan for the future or to protect their estates, right? Protecting your estate, we mean your estate, your data is also your estate. Anything that you own, anything that you own that have a contribution that is contributing to your business is your estate, or that contributes to your properties is your estate. So you need to protect your estate. And part of protecting your data in the cloud is through backup. Okay? Yes, you can say, what if I replicate the data to another region? That's also a possibility, but it's not backup. Replication is not backup. And where it's also dangerous if you don't have backup is this. Let's talk about the data corruption, for instance. You have one SQL database here that you have configured replication for. And something has happened and a part of the database is corrupted. Users are trying to, anytime they try to pull data from that particular table, they just keep getting inaccessible. That's what they keep getting. Now, because you enable replication and you do not have backup, you enable replication, this error will also replicate and replace whatever you have at the other on the copy or the other location where you are replicating the data to. So the problem from the original source has been replicated to your backup copy. So that is the reason why it is very important that you still have a backup. So let's say you took a backup yesterday and today data corruption or data breach happened. At least you can still go back to the last backup that you had as of yesterday. So you just have to lose certain amount of data. At least it bring you back. Whatever you will be losing will not be as much as when you have overwritten what you have at the other side where you are replicating to, and you have nothing to fall back to. So what is Azure Backup really? Azure Backup is they are actually what we call is a backup service that give you or give any organization access to be able to create what we call recovery points. Create recovery points or help you manage recovery points that you have created down. What are recovery points? Like I said, you took a backup yesterday. One backup, maybe full backup happened. You back up the entirety of your system yesterday. It's called full backup. That yesterday, day one backup, right? Day one backup is full. This is a recovery point. Okay, it means you took this, maybe let's even say last month, you took this last month, and every week you take another backup every week. In the 4 weeks, I mean in the month, you have 4 weeks, for instance. So you have week 1 backup for week 1, backup for week 2, backup for week 3, and backup for week 4. You have 4 backups apart from this full. And now there are type of backups. We'll get there. You have maybe full backup, incremental backup, or differential backup. Now, each of these backup for each week is a recovery point. Recovery point in the sense that if you need to recover to this data of week 1, you will lose data of week 2, 3, and 4. If you restore to week 4 will already contain data of week 1, 2, and 3. If you restore data of week 3, you will lose whatever you have for week 4. Those are what they call recovery points. So Azure Backup Service allow you to manage these recovery points, right, and store them in a location or storage. Now, this storage have different tier. They have the cold tier, the hot tier, and the warm tier, right? Depending on where the tier you are saving the backup data, it will tell how quickly you can recover, whether you go 2-stage recovery or 1-stage recovery, right? That is what Azure Backup help you to do. Then you can do what we call multi-user authorization on the backup services, and you can create policy to manage your backup. Maybe you want the backup to happen every first day of first week of every month. And how many restore points do you want to be stored in a month, in a year, or even in a week? Also, access control, who can manage the backup data? And when it's time to restore, who can restore? It also allows you to add multi-factor authentication to whoever is it you have assigned access to manage those backup data or the various recovery points. Okay, and you can generate reports and monitor the recovery job, the backup job, recovery job, and report on them. Now, backup are built into certain services in Azure. You have virtual machines, you have managed disk, you have Azure File Disk, File Share, you have SQL, then other services, right? There are built-in backup services in them. You can choose to enable them, you can choose to turn them off. While for some, whether you enable them or not, it turns it on by default for you, okay? And you can also extend this backup service in Azure. You can extend it to your on-prem servers or resources by installing what we call backup agents. So if you have hybrid environment, even if it's not hybrid that you're running, but you have Azure environment and you have subscribed to Azure Backup Service, and you want to use that backup service to back up your on-premises server. Maybe you have a file server on-prem, or you have a SQL server on-prem, or even you want to back up your domain controller, your Active Directory. You want to back up their what we call system state that allow you, if you back up a system state of a machine, when that machine crashes, you just need to bring up another machine, install the same operating system, and restore the state to the previous state of the former server, and you start working back. So to do this, you need to download backup agents from your backup service portal and install it on each of those virtual machines or even physical servers that you have on-prem. And you will do the backup. The agent will take the backup and store it for you in the cloud based on your configuration. So organizations have to ensure they take this extra step to take backup of their data. Microsoft can replicate your data, but they are not going to back it up for you. So if anything happens and you need to restore, you will be the one to provide the backup data if you have access to that. Now, how does Azure Backup work, right? You have what we call backup vaults and policies, right? If we go to the backup center in the Azure Backup Service, we go to the backup center. In backup center, you can create backup vaults and you can create policies. Policies will be assigned to within the vault, either to back it up when the backups will happen, how long it should be stored, when should it be deleted, what should happen to the deleted data, backup data, should it be permanently deleted or soft delete? You have that. Then you have another vault for metrics and monitoring of all the job that is happening within the backup center. Then you have access, different ways by which you can access your backup data or backup center to carry out certain tasks. You have portal, can go through the Azure portal. You can go through, use SDK, that's software development kit for Azure or for Azure Backup Software Development Kit to actually connect to it and perform tasks here. Or you can use the CLI, which is the PowerShell function. Then you have also backup vaults. You can create multiple backup vaults within Azure Backup Center. So in the Backup Center is where you can have a view to all of this that we are talking about. So your vault, again, it stores your backup policy, it stores your recovery point, and then, yes, backup policy. I don't know why it's repeated. Okay, sorry, backup copies and backup policies, right? Then we said there are two types of vaults. We have the backup vault, and then you have to create a separate vault for your recovery, right? Then you have backup policy. What did the backup policy, what are they doing? They define the location, the data source. That's who are you backing up? Is it a virtual machine? Is it a database? Is it an on-prem server? That is your backup source. Is it a file storage? That's your backup source. Then where do you want to store it? That's your backup storage, which is in your vault, okay? And then you now have schedule. How often should the backup happen, right? That is this. Maybe this can happen twice a day, twice a week, or 4 times a month, right? That is your backup schedule. Then Backup Center provide you a single unified management pane or portal to manage all of this that we talk about backup. Now, moving on, right? We'll go to, let me see, time. Okay. Okay. All right. Oladimeji, please, if you are still on the call, please help me post. Are you still on the call? Okay, yes. Help me post the,
yes,
all right, thank you. Help us post the attendance for today. Okay. So
Okay.
moving on, right? How do we implement the Azure backup within the backup center? We have said the backup center provides a single pane of glass for you to manage everything around your backup. And this is an example, right, of backup center. From the left navigation pane, you can see different things. You can see backup instances. You can see your backup policies. You can see your votes. You can see backup jobs under monitoring and reporting. You can see backup reports. Backup jobs are the schedules of when the jobs will happen or the backups will happen. And then backup schedules be report things are happening like this. Did it fail? How many is in progress? How many succeeded? And then maybe consistency. Then you have backup compliance. So are all the backup job as at the time they are supposed to happen, are they happening? Right? Are we meeting our compliance requirement that say we must have a backup for app service happen every day and multiple times a day, such that your compliance requirement can also say if anything happen now in to a server, we have maximum of 2 hours to restore the data. And we can only accommodate data loss of 2 hours or 4 hours. So it means we have to take backup every 2 hours. If we are taking backup every 2 hours, when an incident happens and we need to restore the job back, we can always get a data that is 2 hours behind the current time, 2 hours behind the current time, or behind from the last incident, we have a 2-hour backup. So we always have to lose just that small data. We don't have to lose a whole data. So you check whether you are meeting those compliance requirements. Okay. And these are where you can see protectable resources. So if you have different resources that you have created across Azure, if you come to this particular tab, you'll be able to see the resource type that support backup and those that does not support backup. So moving on is to just quickly create, let's see if we can demonstrate it. That's the last thing that should be, this just configuring backup for virtual machine. This will be the, if we cannot go on today, we'll quickly complete it tomorrow. I'll be sorry, in our last class. Just a moment. Right. So what we want to quickly do now is to go to, I don't know, maybe I should just quickly complete so that we'll do all the backup tasks together. Oh, have I finished? It's looking like I've finished. Okay. Okay, just quickly, let's just quickly cover this so that we can do the lab together if we still have time. Let's quickly talk about, we talk about the fact that backup in Azure work for different resource type. We go back to the resource types that are supported. Here, you have the different, looking for my, okay. Yeah, you have the different resource types that we can apply backup for. So now, to quickly talk about one of the one we will try to demonstrate apart from storage, talk about virtual machine backup. So to back up virtual machine, right, there are different ways by which backup can be taken in Azure for virtual machine. One way is to create, is what we call snapshots. So you can create a snapshot when you create a snapshot, what it's doing is taking the states of the system. Just take the entire, like a clone, right? You take a clone of that machine, of that VM, and the disk that is associated with it. You take a clone of that virtual machine and keep it in a vault or in a location for you, in a storage for you, right? That's one way to protect data in Azure. Another way is to do actual backup. Now, this backup, when you are doing virtual machine backup, you have option to backup the entire VM, right? Or backup certain file. That means you have to install the agent. We call it file level, right? File level backup. Okay? So you do file level backup, right? For virtual machine, you can do that. And you can also backup the application on the virtual machine. That's application data or application itself. If you backup application, it means if anything happened to that machine and you need to restore, you have to first install the VM. Then when you set up the VM finish, you need to install the application. Then you go and back up the application data so that it can restore the state to the last backup that you have. And finally, you have Azure Site Recovery. Azure Site Recovery allow you to have a recovery site as your recovery site, right? It goes beyond backup. It means you are backing up to another region. You can back up your on-prem data center to an Azure site recovery, right? When you use Azure Site Recovery to back up your on-premises virtual machines, if anything happened to the on-premises environment, you can actually go to your Azure Site Recovery and initiate that all the virtual machines will come up in Azure straight away like that. You don't need to start initiating the recovery or restore job. You just activate it, and that service will come up in Azure Site Recovery. The VMs will come up and start servicing your user, right? That's one way to do it. Another way is, even while you are hosting your resources in Azure, you can set up another. So that means you have your primary data center, maybe West Europe, for instance, West Europe, for instance, that's WE, not U. And you want to configure site recovery for the services here. You can actually go to another site or another region and go and replicate those VM. You replicate them in another region. It can be in West region, North region this time. Okay. Then if anything happened to servers in this region, all you need to do is just to activate the other region. So that's that with regard to site recovery, right? Once one site, your resource go off in one site, you can actually spin it up at another site. So you can actually spin it up at another site, okay? So I'll just move on. We're almost done for today, right? Now, to create a snapshot for your virtual machine, right, we still need a recovery service point. That's where the snapshot will be stored. Once we take a snapshot, that's just very simple step. Go to your VM, take a snapshot, and the snapshot is taken, and then it will transfer the snapshot data into a vault that we have created, a recovery vault. So anytime you want to restore, you won't go to your backup vault. You will be going to your recovery service vault, right? So use the snapshot taken as part of a backup job, right? You can reduce the recovery wait time, right? Recovery wait time. Don't wait for data transfer to the vault to finish. Okay, then configure instant restore retention. That's restore extension. This is, you can either make it standard or you configure enhance one. If we have more time, we'll see how that can be done. Okay. Now, beyond snapshot, we said we can also use Azure Backup apart from snapshot. And then if you want to take your backup, these are where you, this where you select, you go into the vault, that's the backup vault, and you select where do you want to backup for, where are your workload that you want to backup. Are they running Azure? When you drop this down, you see option for on-prem, right? So you can select, if it's Azure, select Azure. It will list all the Azure resources that you have for you, and you can select, if it's virtual machine, you select the virtual machine, and you can initiate the backup. Now, if it's on-prem, you will have installed the backup agent on those VM and configure them. So the moment you go to on-prem, it will give you the list, and then it will ask you step 2 is to prepare your infrastructure. Preparing your infrastructure means if you have not installed the backup recovery agent, it will create a backup agent. You must download your backup agent from your portal, because there's configuration that is going to put in that is going to embed within the agent, so that once you install it on the server knows, or the agent on the server know which vault exactly to talk to within your Azure account. Okay. And to back up virtual machine, the first thing we have to do is to create a recovery service bot. And then once we create our recovery service bot, then we can use the Azure portal to define policy. We can also use PowerShell if we want to define policy. And then we can then take backup of the virtual machine. Can take snapshot, that's of your data at defined intervals, right? Then these snapshots are stored in your recovery service point, and then they can be used for backup data. So for the backup extension to work, or the backup agent, backup Azure VM agent must be installed on the virtual machine. I don't know if you understand this. If you want to, even though for Azure, the VMs that are hosted in Azure, you still need an agent to run on them for that backup to take place. There's an Azure VM agent that needs to run on them. Likewise, if you need to back up service from on-prem or VM from on-prem, you also need to download an agent that goes to on-prem, that you install an on-prem server for the purpose of backup as well. Finally, on this one is to look at steps, how to restore virtual machine, right? The thing is, once the restore operation is triggered, a backup service create a job for restore. Once the operation is triggered, a job is automatically created for the restore service, right? And then it's going to check the pre-check the backup job, the backup data before it starts restoring it. It will check consistency. After backup, it does consistency check, and then during restore as well, right? So that is all about backing up your data in Azure. And very quickly, we are going to check out some of those, how to do some of that. All right. Let's see if we can do that of, I probably will have more time. I know time has gone. So let me get the slide for the classes. Uh, mm, 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 mm. They have said it to that we cannot share slide to remember the last time um, when this was requested, we said we'll get permission, but we were told slide cannot be shared, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm going back to this is my browser, and this is still loading. This is serious. We'll just leave this, but you can check it if you have an environment or the lab. Go walk through the lab access to work on some things around security. So I'm going to quickly go back here. Let's see very quickly how to create or protect Azure, protect, we can start with file. Although we do not have any Azure file created, we have app service and database instead. And but for us to do that, we're just going to uh, go to backup. See, Business Continuity Center, backup. This should be backup center. Okay, backup center. Let's go there. That's Business Continuity Center. It's the same. Okay, so you recall protectable resources and protected items. We have here, we don't have here in this environment. We don't have here in this environment. So what we'll do, let's first create a vault, right? We're going to create a vault. Or we say we have to create vaults. We'll create a recovery service vault first. In this, and then we'll select and just create a new, let's leave it here, resource group. We can create a new resource group maybe for all backup, right? Backup. Backup, yes. Let's just call it backups, okay? And we call it, let's call it, let's call it, backup BKP textile TDD, yeah, TDD BKP vaults, okay? And we select cell must be letter, doesn't want still no items required, but it's accepted to differentiate BAP vaults. Can we add space? No. Okay, vault 1 and yes. So we select the region, can leave it here in the West Europe, and we can go to redundancy. We don't need redundancy at this time. We just click create. All right. So once, oh, sorry, review and create. Once the creation is finished, we can start, we can do other things. or can create a backup job for Azure file. But the only thing is we do not have an Azure file created currently. So what will happen is our money is running out. So, okay, that wasn't moving. So it's working, work in progress. So that is going on. Is there anything we can do? Do we have any question? Let's take question. The lab is still not working. Why is that? Okay, I will try and see if I can get access to, no, I will try and see. I'll try and see if I can get access to another lab account and give to, I think it's two of you that are using that account. I'll provide to the two of you today. Or we pair you with another person if I don't get. Okay. So do we have any other question? Why this is running? Okay, I think we have kind of, we've run from 11, 11, 12, 1. So we've run for exactly 2 hours. Okay, so I don't know, is maybe stuff that is taking time or see my other subscription. Okay, all right, no problem. We will check. So we just go to resources. It has already created it. You don't have to be afraid. So, and these are vaults that have been created here. And if you can see now, under manage, we have backup policy, backup infrastructure, sites recovery, and recovery plan. That's site recovery. Then we have reports. Under monitoring, we have similar things that we have when we went to Azure Monitor, right? Alerts, metrics, and then advisor, backup job, site recovery job, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now we have created a vault. The next thing we want to do is to backup, create a backup job. Okay, and here we want to configure backup job for an Azure file storage. Azure file storage. Let's go back home. The Azure file. Because we currently do not have an Azure file storage, we can just quickly create one. Okay. Properties. Here one here. Manage. Okay. Let's go to resource group. We need to see what's happening. If we already have storage that we can use, it's looking like we have one. We don't we don't have VM instead. Also. Okay, no problem. So to create, let's say we want to create Azure file storage. All we need to do is to go to backup center, that's business continuity center, right? And then we create new backup job, manage. Normally, if you go here, you will see all the resources that support backup. But currently, we do not have any resource here that seems to support backup. And the protected one, check, we don't have any either. So what we can do is to go into the vaults, created one vault, and then we can create a backup in the vault. So to create a backup in the vault, we click backup. When we click backup, you need this where you select where you want to backup from is in Azure. And then we select what we want to backup, Azure files share, right? And we say backup, okay? Now, it will give us a name for the storage account that we want to use to save this backup. Although currently there are no file share, so we can quickly add if you allow us. So call it backup, select an account, a storage account. Currently, yeah, that's it. We do not have, we have any, we don't have one, right? So it means we have to first create a storage account first. Once we create a storage account, then we'll be able to select it to use for backup purpose. Okay, so, but it's compulsory, we have to select it. Also add a file share that we are looking for that as well. We can kind of do that if we want to, or by the time we're ready, but we don't have any here as well. But this is where you select. Once you select, you just click select the policy or you edit the policy. So let's try and edit this policy and see what is there. This is what is saying. Full backup. The policy, the backup type is full. Then policy frequency, it will back up every day at 7:30 p.m. Retention for this default policy is creating now. It will retention of daily backup point. Retain backup, right? Every day at 7 p.m. for a period of 30 days. So you will always have 30 recovery points. You will always have 30 recovery points, one for each day. So once it is the 31st day, it's going to delete the one it took on the first. The first backup, it will delete it so that there will always be 30 copies of the backup job. Then once you do that, you enable. So if we say, let's edit this policy, for instance, we can edit the policy. It's a more meaningful name, right? Maybe backup for whichever resource, maybe this for file share, backup file share. File share, right? That's what we want to do. Then are we using snapshot or we want to use standard, right? We can stick with snapshot. Then we can change the schedule accordingly. Frequency can be daily or hourly. Daily is better, you have less data. But depending on your requirement, remember, we said if your recovery point objective mean to what point can we restore to? How long? How much data can we lose? That is what they call recovery point objective. How much data are we willing to forgo, right? If it is daily data, then daily is fine. It means you will always have data for yesterday. You always have yesterday data to back up to. Now, if our compliance requirements say we cannot lose more than 2 hours data, you have to do hourly backup, right? And your backup can be, this is minimum that you can do. This is not configurable now. It can be every 4 hours, right? And it should start from what time of the day? 8 a.m. And duration, hour duration, you say 4. So every 4 hours, it will continue. Sorry, our duration is, if we select 12, that means we will have 3 backup jobs for today alone. Every 4 hours, we start from 8 a.m. The first one will be taken. 12 a.m. the second one will be taken. 4 p.m. the third one will be taken. 8 p.m. the fourth one will be taken. So we have more than that. Then 12 p.m. that's 5 backup job will be taken, right? For the between from this time to this time, we'll have 5 backup job that is taken every hour, every 4 hours, right? Then retention. This retention is in days. Do we want, how many days do we want to retain the backup for before it's deleted? Then retention, this for daily backup. Yes, it will apply to this. Now, if we do weekly backup option, right, we need to select how many backup do we want to keep in a week, right? So it's configurable, but you can leave it as default if it works for you, right? That's how to do. Then once you are done with all the policy, you click the backup, right? And the backup job will start. That is simply how to configure backup for file share. Same thing apply if we want to create for virtual machine. We want to create for virtual machine, we go back to the bot, right, and click backup again. Then we select our resources in Azure. So you can see the different options. You have Azure, Azure Stack, Azure HDR, that is hyper convergence infrastructure, hyper convergence infrastructure. Then on-prem, you have this as well. So you can select. I hope you can see. Okay, you can still hear me. My slide disappeared. Okay. Okay, so we select Azure again, and this time we'll select a virtual machine. Then we say configure backup again. Once you say configure backup again, we'll go through similar steps, right? Policy subtype, is it enhanced we want to do or standard? If it's enhanced, you'd say we have multiple backup per day, up to 30 days operational tier retention, and support for trusted launch Azure VM, support for VMs with Ultra disk and premium SS2 disk. Then we can click standard. Standard is once a day backup. That's the backup will back up once a day and up to 5 days operational tier retention. Then for backup policy also, we can either use the default or we create a new one. And this is what is also in the default. The default said daily at 10 p.m. 10 p.m. So because we selected standard once a day. If we go back to enhance, you see what happened? You pick the default every 4 hours, starting 8 a.m. for 12 hours. Instant restore for 2 days. That's snapshot for 2 days. Then restore retention of daily backup point is for 30 days. So we'll have 30 days if we are doing daily. Okay, so this per day. Or let's pick the standard. So we can either go by that or we create our own policy. You can, in this case, you can't edit the default policy. So we can create our own policy for this and make adjustment just like we did it at the other time, right? So we'll just cancel and maintain the default here. Then here, it will give us the opportunity to select all our virtual machines that we want to back up, right? And we enable backup. We can download the template to use for automation of subsequent backup for other virtual machines that we might be creating in the future, right? So I wish we could create so that we can see other things like the reports and the rest that we have in here. We will have seen the policy if we completed the creation of the backup. Then what about if you need to back up your app service? You can also do that. Let's go to our app service. We have one here called OAuth. Oof. All right. Okay. So we have our app service here, and then we are going to go to so the first thing for you to back up app service, you also need a storage account, right? We need a storage account to back up our app service to also. But if you notice here, you see backup. And then once, as we see backup here, this is what we mean by some services, whether you enable backup or not, backup is configured and enabled for you by default. So from the day that we spin up the, from the day that we created this resource, backup have started since 9th of this. We created this resource last week. The backup have started since that day. Every 1 hour is when it takes backup. Every single 1 hour. And you see, you know, how many backup we have here. So you can just easily restore to a particular point in time. Okay? And then if we want to do custom backup for this particular app service, we'll click the custom backup. And then from the custom backup, if you load this, there's the basic setting that allow us to select, it has selected the subscription. Then here we have to select storage. Because we said we have to create a storage, so we can actually create a storage. I don't know how long it may take us. Let's see, backup 6 data. Okay, say contain lower cases only, no problem. Give you lower case. Okay, and we are selecting the region also. Just leave it as it is, and it's asking the type of storage to create for general purpose, locally redundant is what is. Then we'll say create. Go ahead and create it. And now we will create this at the same time. And then it's asking us to select a container and create a container also. BKP back 6 data. Okay, click create as well. So we do that, then backup and restore over virtual network integration. We can select that. Then we can choose to schedule. Similar thing that we saw on the other side for virtual machine and storage. Same thing apply here. Either every 1 day. So this one now, maybe instead of every day, you can choose to do every 5 days. Maybe it's week, that means weekly, right? Or every 7 days. That's weekly data backup. what time do we want to start, right? We select that, and it's going to work based on our either UTC. UTC is 0. Then it's going to work by my local. I can choose to work by my local time, so it will start by my own local time, right? Based on where I'm connecting it from. So, and this is it. And then keep your backup data file for up to 60 days. Enter 0 to keep it indefinitely. This will eat up storage. So you have to pay close attention there. Then keep at least one backup at all times. At least one backup at all times, right? So you will keep it for 60 days, and you will be deleting, but you will always have backup. Then we can do advanced, and we can just go to configure, right? That's simply a step to configure backup for app services. The same thing can happen for databases. We will stop here for today. I think we have been able to do justice. And so can we create, a question is, can we create backup for multiple virtual machines, or each virtual machine with its backup? No, you can create for multiple virtual machines. If you recall where we went in the backup vault, let's go back to the backup vault. If you recall, and you say you want to create a backup, you select Azure, wherever your virtual machine is hosted. You say virtual machine, then you say configure backup. So from this configure backup, if you have virtual machines, it will list all of them here. So you just select a checkbox against each of the VMs that you want to back up, and it will create the backup job for all of those virtual machines. They will all be stored in the same backup job, but with different, each of the VM will be there as a file in that particular container or vault. So that is the way it works.